So our theme for this month is Life is Worth Living Well. And as you just heard, the topic for today is Your Most Precious Gift. I read an article in the Creative Thought magazine, the magazine we used to publish, but I'd go through and read those back issues, periodically. And this particular article that I read talked about how precious our life truly is. And in it, the author talked about nourishment and devotion in every area of our lives. So this month, I want to share these ideas with you. Hence the theme, Life is Worth Living Well. And today, I want to begin with your most precious gift. Perhaps you've seen the TV commercial from the gold buyers of Hawaii, which talks about the number one reason for taking your gold into them if you want to sell it. Well, they actually have 5 number one reasons. So today, I have 5 precious gifts, rather than just one to talk about, to nourish our lives as we commit to living well, because we're worth it. So let's begin with your number one most precious gift, health. There is a point in the supreme moment of realization where the individual merges with the universe, but not to the loss of his or her individuality. And it's here that the mentality performs seeming miracles. Those events that Reverend Betty Jandal calls normicals. You heard a story like that in our Standing in the Light this morning. That what might be considered a miracle is actually a normical, because this happens when our thought is aligned in perfect right order. Last month in my series of talks, I focused on the theme, the physiology of spirituality. I talked about a series of things related to that, starting with the body-mind connection, and then the power of our human consciousness, followed by the power of our body to heal, and then the quantum leap in healing made available by the massively expanding body of knowledge of how resilient and how responsive our bodies are to that. In fact, just yesterday I was listening to HPR, Hawaiian Public Radio, as they discussed the placebo effect with some representatives from the medical profession. The placebo effect has been around for a long time, as most of us know, and it still works when one is receptive to it. They even talked about the use of certain colors of pills that were placebos based on the country or the culture in which they're being used, and the associations people have, positive or negative, with the strength or lack thereof in certain colors. Imagine. Surely that suggests how incredibly receptive we are and how responsive we are to healing. This is such good stuff, folks. Just think, we can spend so much less time talking about our ills and so much more time talking about our good stuff. So your number one most precious gift is your health. And that's not just your physical health. It includes your emotional, mental, and spiritual health as well. I had the opportunity to spend a significant amount of time one day this past week in close quarters with a group of people. 2 of them, plus me, found the way to talk and share interesting, stimulating, and expansive points of view. The other 10? Woe is me times 10. Plus their neighbors, their friends, their relatives. So much negative talk. I am so grateful to know how precious my gift of health really is, and to practice recognizing that, sharing that with whoever wants to listen, and continuing to seek further knowledge and expressions of it. Being perfect, whole, and complete in spirit is always in place, and as accessible as simply believing it. And I have to say, like one of the other examples we heard in Standing in the Light about the right people showing up at the right time for the right reasons, the two other positive people in that bus were such a gift for me. We had so many things to share, new for each of us, including, of course, my business card. So you may see them show up here one of these days. And that's how it goes, just in conversation, that we discover each other in the community. Okay, so now let's continue with your next number one most precious gift. And that's loving relationships. I heard a story one time about some people living in far distant places who would die from lack of water when there wasn't any rain, until someone taught them how to tap into the underground water source below the surface of their village. So I want to talk about tapping into love by turning on its flow, which begins within. To love ourselves just as we are in the present moment is the stepping stone to improving and expressing an expanding sense of that quality, that attribute of God. This doesn't mean that we stop growing or reaching for a higher consciousness, certainly not, quite the opposite. It means that we deserve to grow and expand. We are worthy of a greater expression of that we are never forgotten or deserted by our source of being. It means we learn to accept that we are loved by that which creates us. And that attribute is within us, both to love ourselves and from that expand our love to others. So once again, I'm so grateful to know how precious my gift of loving relationships is, and to practice recognizing that, sharing that with whoever wants to listen, and continuing to seek further knowledge and expressions of it. Being perfect, whole, and complete in spirit is always in place and as accessible as simply believing it. So your third number one precious gift is creativity. Here's a quote from Ernest Holmes. Do we ever get through a talk without a quote from Ernest Holmes? I think not. Ernest said, "Nature won't let us stay in one place for very long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary for the unfolding and advancement of our soul." Our beliefs are the only things that stand between us and the good that we have declared or want to declare. The block, when there is one, is always in our own mind. Reverend Sue Sickey from the Unity Church in Santa Monica, California, expressed it this way. She said, "What we can experience is the great creative urge of the all-powerful Creator. It rises and swells in the souls of men, women, children, and youth. Everything in the universe is under the sway of this irresistible force, moving fuller and fuller into expression. Each one of us is a part of this evolving creative force." So it's really about how motivated we are to be creative It's like that old saying, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? What would you be? Because the truth is, failure is an illusion. There are simply results from our actions. And when or if we don't like the results, change the thinking, change the actions, and the results change. Because as Reverend Sue said, everything in the universe is under the sway of the irresistible force, moving fuller and fuller into expression. Each of us is a part of this evolving creative force. Evolving creative force. Never static. So here is the fourth, number one most precious gift. And that is to be prosperous. I've told this story before, either here and in class, but I like it so much, I'm going to tell it again. It's about the little old lady who sold pretzels for 25 cents a piece on a street corner down in the gas lamp section of San Diego, California. And every day, this one young man would leave his office building at lunchtime, and as he passed her pretzel stand, he would give her a quarter. But he never took a pretzel. This went on daily for more than 5 years. And during that entire time, neither of them ever spoke to the other. But one day, as the man passed the old lady's pretzel stand and left his customary 25 cents, she spoke to him. She said, "Sir, you are a good customer, and I really appreciate your business. But I have to tell you that the price of my pretzels has increased to 35 cents. So what does that have to do with the precious gift of prosperity? It has everything to do with that. And it's not about the quantity of money or the amount of material things in our possession or the number of friends or acquaintances that we have. It's about the quality of how we express our acceptance of the valuable gifts of the universe. And it's about the quality of how we share our valuable gifts of the universe. I know some of you are sharing your time, your efforts, your money, your belongings with our brothers and sisters on the windward side of the island as they face these challenges of the volcanic activity in their area. And as you do that, I so encourage you to share your consciousness of plenty, your consciousness of prosperity, your consciousness of loving support for their recovery. And by the way, add a Science of Mind magazine to the boxes or packages that you send there or that you take over there. I heard a man from Leilani Estates interviewed yesterday on TV, and he said this. He said, "For me, it's been a great run." He said, "I've lived here for 15 years and I've loved every day of it. It's been great, and I'm thankful for whatever is next for me." And the look on his face was, I wouldn't describe it as sheer joy, but it was completely positive in his knowing that what he had created over the last 15 years, he can create again, wherever and whenever. And your fifth, number one, most precious gift is you. Whatever we are devoted to in life holds us dear as well. Our word has the same power as the word God uses to create life. When we care for ourselves, when we honor our own self-worth, when we accept vibrant good health with confidence, we become health. And we create that atmosphere around us. When we give ourselves devotion and love, we create those same qualities and around us and attract them to us as well. When we give freely of our time and our talents and our treasure, the universe absolutely rushes into us with ideas and actions that show up as unique and satisfying creativity, bringing with them prosperity and abundance in all areas of our lives. And when we give willingly of ourselves, that most precious gift, life is one with us. It nourishes us. It provides all we could possibly choose. And so all these precious gifts, health, love, creativity, and prosperity, are already yours. But your most precious gift is you. Whatever you are devoted to in all life holds you dear. Whatever you speak your word about, that word is as powerful as the word God uses to create life. So that was 5, number 1, precious gifts. Health, loving relationships, creativity, prosperity, and you yourself. And because today's a special day, I have included a 6th number 1 precious gift. In honor of this day, the special gift of motherhood. One of my favorite parts of the philosophy of the science of mind is the realization that God, or divine spirit, creative energy, divine intelligence, it's really your choice of the ID that you choose, that God is a concept, not a blow-up human. The qualities of God are not gender limited, because this creative force creates out of itself, and it contains all of the qualities or the characteristics it expresses. In fact, that is why in Science of Mind we now refer to God as it, rather than a limited idea of he or she. Among those characteristics expressed by its creative activity is both the male and the female of each species, including the species we call Homo sapien. That would be you and me. So when we talk of motherhood, we're speaking of a divine quality. And there are many aspects of motherhood which include but are not limited to the birthing of a child. For those of you who have, you know the ongoing expression of mothering, even as your children grow taller than you, they grow independent of your physical care, and they make their own mark in this world. For those of you who have raised siblings, Hanai children, tended to the children of others in a variety of ways, and these tasks are often performed by men as well as women, these gifts you have given are an example of the universal quality of mothering, nurturing, caring, setting an example. In fact, here is one of the definitions of mothering in the dictionary: having or relating to an inherent worthiness, justness, goodness that is obvious, unarguable. So on this special day, we send love to each of those examples of motherhood. So nourish the magnificent person that you are at least as well as you would nourish your favorite puppy or kitten or new baby. This is the temple in which you park your spirit while you're here. Not just here in this building on Sunday morning, but here on this great good earth. Show devotion to your soul and your spirit in each act of living, from your work to your recreation, to your pensive time in prayer or meditation, and when you eat, when you sleep, when you bathe, when you relax. The best way for you to care for and be devoted to anyone or anything else is to be totally, completely, and lovingly devoted to yourself. You are your most precious gift. So commit to living well, because you deserve it. You're worth it. And so it is.
And so it is.